Political influencer Charlie Kirk was shot in an event at Utah Valley University.
Conservative activist Charlie Kirk has died after being shot at a rally in Utah. What we're learning about the search for the suspect and the moments leading up to the shooting.
UNC's new dorms will cost $110 million. That's more than $60 million more than the last dorms they built. Tonight we go in depth on inflation, college, and affordability.
Rain chances aren't letting up. I'm tracking who could see drizzle overnight and into tomorrow.
And thank you for joining us here at 7 o'clock. I'm Dan Haggerty. Today, as you probably know by now, someone shot and killed Charlie Kirk. He was a well-known conservative activist. He was also a father of 2 young children. Kirk was shot during one of his events on a college campus. This one was at Utah Valley University, not far from BYU. A news conference wrapped up about 20 minutes ago, a little less than, and we've learned some new details. Police say the first person who officers arrested, many of us saw that video on social media, George Zinn, is no longer a suspect. They do have a second person in custody who they are calling a person of interest. But at this point, investigators believe the shooter is still at large. Brian Schrader has been following this story all day for us in the WRAL Live Center. Brian, you listen in to that news conference, and Utah's governor is calling this a political assassination.
And as you mentioned, one person of interest is in custody and, at least as of about 20 minutes ago, was still being interviewed. They believe that only one person was involved in this shooting, and officials say they are still looking for people who might have information about it. They want to collect as much information, as much video of what happened to help them piece together what led to that shooting. They describe that they're using security camera footage only at this point and analyzing it. The person that they're looking for was wearing dark clothing and apparently was on a roof about 200 yards away from where Kirk was speaking when that shot was fired. As you mentioned, Utah's governor called it a political assassination, and he talked emotionally about other recent acts of political violence in this country.
We desperately need leaders in our country, but more than the leaders, we just need every single person in this country to think about where we are and where we want to be.
Right now on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C., a prayer vigil is starting at a church there to remember Charlie Kirk.
His words, they really resounding here tonight. All right, thank you to Brian. I also want to bring in WRL's Eric Miller now. Eric, as a battleground state here in North Carolina, we get a lot of political visits, including Charlie Kirk in years past. We know that Kirk has had his own personal security with him at the university today, as well as university police who were there. What do we know about security here at events in our area? Eric?
Well, Dan, that's a question that we took to former Wake County Sheriff Donnie Harrison, who has decades of law enforcement experience, including securing political events from governors to presidents. He tells us a situation like the one Kirk was in today, a very open area, a lot of high buildings around, that is incredibly hard to secure. Any security who would have been there, whether that was Kirk's personal security or law enforcement, would have been scanning the crowd, looking for anybody who was agitated, who didn't look right, and also for any potential threats up on those roof lines or up in pockets or corners around buildings. Still, he says it is possible for things to get missed, mistakes to get made, and to have tragic consequences like what we saw today. Harrison telling us that law enforcement around the world will be taking a close look at this incident. Take a listen.
Yes, we'll look at this all over the world. Law enforcement will be looking at this. What could have been better? What could have done better? What could, prevent this? And sometimes you don't come up with an answer because of the situation that you're dealing with. But it still puts us on high alert every time.
Yeah, high alert. That alert likely to remain in place for a long time, especially when you consider here in North Carolina, we've got a closely watched Senate race that's going to be coming up next year. Harrison's saying that for the general public, the thing they can do to really help in a situation like this, listen to law enforcement, be willing to accept a little bit of inconvenience for the sake of security. In Raleigh, Eric Miller, WRAL News.
Thank you, Eric. And just a a tragic situation today. There's no other way to say it. To be honest, we could continue to talk about this story for the entirety of the newscast. I mean, that's what journalists do. We try to look at all the angles, all the layers of the big story. We could talk about political violence and guns and free speech and the First Amendment, information and opinion silos that we see online, the reaction from politicians, similar incidents in American history. We could talk about who Charlie Kirk was and his family and his background and all that stuff. We could talk about the power of video, how the video of this shooting hits our feeds in the very same week that we watched a woman stabbed to death on a train in Charlotte. This is what violence truly looks like. It's one thing to read about it. It's another to bear witness to it right in the palm of your hand. We could talk about that and all of that other stuff well into the night. And I'm not saying we won't talk about these things. We will. This is far from the last time that we're going to cover this story and all of the stories connected to it. But I am curious what you want to see us talk about here at 7 o'clock. This is a two-way street during this newscast. What pieces of this story interest you most, concern you most maybe? Where are your feelings after all of this? Tell me what is on your mind, and we will go in depth.
Dan, back here in the WRAL Live Center, unfortunately, another all too familiar scene in this country. Breaking news out of the Denver area where 3 students are in critical condition after a shooting at a high school. This is video from earlier this afternoon. It happened at Evergreen High School, and officials say that one of those 3 teenagers in the hospital is the suspect in this shooting. No word on a motive. Officers had to go room to room through that school to clear it today.
All right, thank you. $12 million now on the way to Western North Carolina. This is the latest in a string of moves from FEMA to get money to the mountains. Now, we have learned the decision to free up that money had less to do with the impending need for it and more to do with a standoff between 2 high-ranking Republicans. Senator Ted Budd refused to vote for Kristi Noem's undersecretary unless more was done to help Western North Carolina. WRAL's Kristen Severance has been reporting on the recovery in the mountains there for weeks, and today she asked Governor Josh Stein about the move from his Republican colleague to secure this emergency funding.
I was interviewing Governor Stein for our Helene documentary airing at the end of the month, but I had to ask about a move by Senator Ted Budd at a confirmation hearing this week.
Budd, a Republican from Davie County, used a procedural move to hold up some of President Trump's DHS nominees in a protest over slow-moving Hurricane Helene aid.
Ted Budd, some were surprised by that move, didn't vote because he wants FEMA to hurry up. What do you think? I mean, the Republican, what do you think of that?
Well, I called him this morning to thank him. He has recognized this deficiency with FEMA and the layers of bureaucracy they've added to an already bureaucratic process. And he helped free up the $12 million I mentioned earlier. And so that's good. We need our representatives to fight for North Carolina. And I was pleased to see that.
Should it take that, though?
No. It shouldn't. You shouldn't have to fight your own government to do right by the people of Western North Carolina. But if that's what it takes, that's what we will do.
Secretary of Homeland Security Kristi Noem has instituted a policy that she must personally approve any order within DHS over $100,000. Stein said it's causing even more delays.
And then there's a DOJ review that just goes and looks at everything that FEMA has already approved and then everything that Homeland Security has already approved. So they've now added 2 additional bureaucratic steps to a process that was already too slow. We need the federal government to speed up.
FEMA did not return WRAL's request for a comment. I'm WRAL documentary investigator Kristen Severance.
And our new documentary Kristen is working on now, Helene, What We Lost, What We Found, airs Thursday, September 25th at 7:30 on your TV or wherever you stream WRAL. College is expensive for the student, for the taxpayer, and apparently for the university. UNC plans to build a new dorm, and it will cost $110 million. How does that compare to other high-rise buildings in our area and the other dorms on UNC campus? The answer reveals a whole lot about how much it costs to get a 4-year degree today and over the last 20 years. We're going in depth after the break. Kat?
A lot of clouds lingering out there today. I'll let you know when temperatures climb about 10 degrees and the sun breaks through coming up.
More More students are enrolling at UNC, and that means the university needs more dorms. Now, they have a plan to build a couple of new ones, and it is expensive, like way more expensive than the last time they built new dorms. And it got us thinking about the ballooning cost of college and the burden that it puts on the student and the taxpayer. Let's go in depth. College is expensive, even if you don't go. $110 million of your tax dollars will build new dorms at UNC for the first time in decades. This is the area where all the work is going to happen. They'll replace this administrative building here, Jackson Hall, as well as these tennis and basketball courts over here. Two buildings housing about 700 students on land that the university already owns for $110 million. Does that seem like a lot to you? Let me give you some perspective. F&B Tower, a newer building in downtown Raleigh, cost $116 million. Right in prime real estate, 239 luxury apartments, offices, retail, coffee shops, restaurants. They have an outdoor pool, a yoga studio. There's a gym, even a dog washing station. You get the point. It's pretty nice. The last time UNC built new dorms was back in 2002. This is one of them here. They built 4 dorms for 960 students. The cost was roughly $47 million. It is wild to think about. In 20 years, we're spending twice as much to house 2/3 as many students. Have things really changed that much? Well, the short answer is yes, in more ways than you might think. Let's do some simple math on this project. If the dorm costs $110 million, you're looking at about $150,000 per bed. And since most rooms are doubles, you're looking at about $300,000 per dorm room. For some context, the median home price in North Carolina is $387,000. This wasn't lost on everyone. Even some members of the Board of Trustees were surprised by the price tag. I talked to Marty Kotis about it. He's the chair of the Budget and Finance Committee. He's also a real estate developer. He told me that regulation plays a big role.
We talked about a need for reform and regulation regarding some of the requirements that are imposed on the university by state and federal regulations, and how that can drive the cost higher than the private sector.
A lot of the costs will come from things like LEED requirements, which basically means green building standards, as well as hub requirements. So working with minority-owned or women-owned or disabled veteran-owned businesses, that sort of thing. And UNC builds things to last. Just take the Old East Residence Hall. This building has been standing since 1793. A university spokesperson told me, quote, "We use a 50-year approach, but that makes everything more expensive, from the framing of the building to the floorboards, even the handrails outside." It's one of the reasons places like Craig Hall, which was built in 1962, is still up and running. Although we should say a lot of private projects do follow similar rules. What is different, though, about public construction is how the price gets set, or rather, how it doesn't.
In the private sector, you might meet with a variety of contractors and discuss how to cost effectively build your project. In the public sector, unfortunately, the requirement is that you interview architects and construction managers at risk, and you don't discuss pricing really much at all. You don't discuss their fees.
It's called qualification-based selection. You hire the team first, then you talk price later. You see, the university already knows what it wants to spend. It takes a look at what other universities have spent and some of their own past projects. They sent me over this list of benchmarks: a $33 million dorm at Virginia Tech, $118 million at the University of Austin, and a $326 million dorm at the University of Florida. But those prices aren't based on local demand, not in the same way as they are in the private market. They're based more on what other universities and schools were willing to pay. It creates a feedback loop. Universities help create the market, then use it to justify the cost. UNC says they're just keeping up with national trends, but these national trends are getting more expensive and more competitive. Students want modern, premium amenities, and the dorms being built today are delivering. you should see some of this stuff. Some feature maker studios with 3D printers, laser cutters, sewing machines, and design software. Others include art studios, VR, and mindfulness suites, recording studios, or gaming rooms with high-end PCs and consoles.
It is a Taj Mahal mentality. It's keeping up with the Joneses in terms of other schools having a climbing wall, then you need a climbing wall, or other schools have a sushi restaurant, then you need a sushi restaurant. And it's, I feel like it has become a little bit too much.
And remember, your tax dollars are paying for this. And if your kid goes to UNC, they'll be paying tuition on top of that. A year at UNC, counting tuition, fees, housing, food, books, supplies, and loan fees, costs about $24,800. So you're looking at nearly $100,000 for a 4-year degree. Yet, our state constitution says the University of North Carolina, as far as practicable, be extended to the people of the state free of expense, meaning as affordable as possible. Now, to be fair, UNC does offer some strong aid programs, but the cutoff for some of that financial aid might be a little lower than you'd expect. If your family makes not much more over $100,000 a year, you could end up paying full price. You know what? Let's be more specific. Let's paint the picture here a bit. Let's say you and your spouse have 3 kids. You each work, and together you bring home about $125,000 a year. But even with good salaries, there's lots to pay for. House, cars, insurance, bills, home repairs, sports, braces, medical bills, property tax, emergency expenses, retirement savings. Hopefully you get a vacation. Will it be easy for you to put away $300,000 for UNC? Does that seem as affordable as possible? Now, look, to UNC's credit, it is one of the most affordable public universities in the country, about $3,000 less per year than the national average. And while fees have gone up, they haven't raised tuition in 9 years. And of the students who do have debt, on average, they're borrowing about $27,000. 84% of Gen Z borrowers say that debt is delaying their lives, buying a house, getting married, having kids. So is $110 million a fair price for a new dorm? Well, if you look back to 2002, with the dorms they built for $47 million, if you apply inflation and some other costs, that would cost about $108 million today. So right in the same ballpark. So are we getting a fair deal, or have we been overpaying for decades? This is a story about cost, inflation, construction, college, and affordability. I hope it gave you something to think about. Email me at dan@WRAL.com. Tell me what's on your mind, and we'll go in depth.
Thanks, Dan. Let's take a live look outside in Raleigh. The clouds still sticking with us. It's been a dreary day. Good day for a nap. The rain continues. It's very light, just patchy drizzle and mist that we're dealing with this hour. But around Wake County, that's where we're seeing the most of it. Johnston County seeing some of that rain as well. If you're ready for some sunshine and warmer temperatures, we've got those back in the forecast as well. Here's the thing. For the weekend, it's a nice middle ground. Not too hot, not too cold. 81 Saturday, 84 Sunday. Dry weather for your weekend, and at night, it'll cool down a bit. It's not going to be as cool as it was to start the week. However, it'll be comfortable. We'll wake up to temperatures in the low 60s, if not upper 50s some mornings. And by lunchtime Sunday, our warmer day this weekend, we're already in the 80s, 84 for the high. And then around dinner time, temperatures still hover around the 80-degree mark. We're watching a coastal low. It's moving away from us, but we've seen a lot of moisture move in, and we're kind of locked in to the cooler weather with that north wind. Tomorrow morning, mostly cloudy to start, a little bit of light rain, drizzle possible, but we should see some improvements tomorrow evening with some sun finally breaking through. Friday, partly cloudy, only a 20% chance for rain on Friday, and high pressure should protect us from rain chances for the weekend. Still on the cool side Saturday with a north wind, but by Sunday we start to see things change as milder temperatures settle back in. And that's the start of our warm-up for next week. Tomorrow, great weather for Bark in the Park out at the DBAP, 76 degrees at 6 o'clock, by 8 o'clock, 71. It's all for a good cause. You and your four-legged friends can head to the ballpark and enjoy some baseball in this nice weather. And football Friday, upper 70s at 6 o'clock, by 9 o'clock, 70 degrees, 11 o'clock. We're in the 60s as you're heading home from the games. Don't forget, Football Friday is at an all-new time this year, starting earlier. So hopefully you and your high schoolers can stay up and watch it at 11:15 on Friday. We'll see highs in the low 80s the next couple of days. Just some light rain, drizzle possible early tomorrow. Once we get to the weekend, the sun is back, and by next week, high temperatures hover around the mid-80s. That's pretty much right on par with what is normal this time of year. What's not normal is this lull in the hurricane season right at the peak of hurricane season. It's great news, but we have more on why that is on WRAL.com.
I like it. Thank you, Kat. One last thing tonight. Is there life on Mars? NASA's getting closer to answering that question. What the rover found this week after the break. One last thing. Is there life on Mars? NASA says maybe. Today, the agency announced they found a small sign of ancient life on the red planet, something that might have lived a very, very long time ago. Scientists believe leopard spots on a rock sampled by the Perseverance rover, could be a sign of ancient microbial life.
This is the kind of signature that we would see that was made by something biological. In this case, it's kind of the equivalent of seeing like leftover fossils, leftovers from a meal, and maybe that meal's been excreted by a microbe, and that's what we're seeing in this sample.
Scientists stress that in-depth analysis is still needed of this sample, ideally in labs on Earth, before they can reach any confident conclusions. But it is a remarkable discovery in our understanding of our solar system. Thank you for making WRAL your choice for local news. Have a great night.